Beautiful day to all. Welcome to a new Asiani video. Today is December 30th and I'm heading to New York City from Toronto. I'm going there in a rental car. As of now, I have no idea whatsoever which car I'm getting. It should be something in the likes of a Buick LaCrosse or a Nissan Maxima. I only asked for a good GT car to take me through a decent 8-hour drive between Toronto and New York. I'm gonna be filming this car and telling you my experience on the road with whatever car I get. So I'm in New York. It's been 2 days. I haven't been able to do any filming since I picked up the car from the rental company. And it was a bit of a surprise. They gave me something I didn't expect. There it is. 2016 Dodge Charger SXT. I'm not too familiar with their models, but I think this is the second level in their trims. I drove this car from Toronto to New York, about an 8-hour drive, 400 miles, or like more or less of 400 miles, and it's been good. It's a really comfortable ride. Not the best, not the most fun car to drive. Definitely not the best handling car, and I do have concerns with the interior design. It's not my favorite. But that's a personal preference thing. I've never been too big on muscle cars. I like the fact that they added this gear shifter. Looks like an Audi gear shifter. Excuse me if the car is not that clean. I've got a lot of stuff, but it's a rental car. And I've been traveling with it for a long time now. So let's get to the engine. Go. I've actually never seen it. I'm gonna try to open that now. There we go. Okay, and this is a 3.6 liter, again very dirty, so you have to excuse me for that. I mentioned in my descriptions that I'm not doing reviews. This is just my experience with the car. This is a 3.6 V6 engine, and I believe it has a 260 pound-feet of torque, 292 horsepower, based on like just some searching that I did on Google, not much. Here's what I think of the interior, because through a drive of 8 hours you get to notice some weird stuff. So let's start her up. There's a remote starter that comes standard with the car, which is a very good thing. I have to put on my seatbelt. Excuse me for that. Okay, so inside, I have to say I admire what they did with the interior compared to the previous model, because I drove the previous one and it was just ridiculous. It felt much cheaper than what it is, but this one has more to offer. What they did with that part is the most impressive so far. I like the way it sounds. Obviously a 3.6 V6 engine. Not bad at all. And this center dial, between the dials, the center screen is again picked up from Audi based on the cars that I've driven, and from those switches you can get more info like trip information, fuel economy. There's vehicle information that shows oil pressure, oil life, battery voltage, tire pressure, which is something that I like, especially when you're doing some touring, coolant temperature, transmission temperature. And speaking of the transmission, there's a thing that I noticed, but I'm not sure if that's a faulty unit that I have. Keep in mind that this is a rental car, so I'm not too sure if it's something that happens. Like if someone owns a Dodge, maybe he'll be able to give me an answer in the comments. When the car is shifting down, especially from the 8th gear to the 7th, or from the 7th to the 6th, there's a very bad kick in it. It seems like the torque is a bit too much for the shift. There's one more thing. Given that it's an 8-speed automatic transmission. It keeps shifting a lot. No matter what speed you're driving on, it keeps shifting. It doesn't stop shifting, and this is just a killer for me. It's not something that I do enjoy whatsoever. This big screen has some options: radio, media controls that I haven't tried because I haven't connected any devices here. This is the seat controls, and I believe you can control the dim for the mirror, that SXT model. Climate, and it's pretty quick, very responsive compared to lots of other cars. I do find it a little bit of a too much, like there's too much to do to get to a specific point. Like it can be easier. This one doesn't have a sat nav. I like that trim, like what they did with that part. And it follows down here as well, next to the gear shifter. I'm gonna turn it off. So for the interior, I think they could have thought it a bit more. This is too high, this part is too high. It's a little bit plasticky for the price range. I think this car goes for about 29 grand for the States and about 33 in Canada. I'm not sure if I don't think it's available in Europe anyways. But there's too much plastics that they could have avoided that. It makes it feel cheap. I hate the design of the steering wheel. It's too big. This part is too bulky. And this is just my OCD, but when you're driving, these buttons are not straight, and it kills me. They should have been straight together, but it's they're shifted, they're tilted a bit with the steering wheel. So this part goes that way, and this left part is tilted that way. Again, lots of plastics inside that they could have done something a little bit more. Like, I believe this is just soft plastics, but like it's not by any means leather. And the design itself is not the best. But again, this is a personal preference. I'm biased. I'm not a muscle car guy. This one doesn't have a sunroof, by the way. I'm not a muscle car guy, and it's not my ride. And I don't appreciate seeing most of the bonnet in front when you're driving. This is also a killer for me. So, driving the car. It's comfortable, I have to say. Very comfortable compared to most cars that I've driven within that price range. Doesn't handle well, which is the compromise. And I think I should have done more research, but I haven't done that. I think this is an electronic assisted steering, and there comes the problem. When you're on the road, it's kind of hard to point it somewhere, and it's unpredictable. So at one point, you know that you need to steer it that much to point it that way, but it doesn't work that way every time. At some points, you'll find yourself oversteering or understeering, and I need to give it a little bit more to put it in the direction that I want. To control the windshield wipers, there's only this bar, and let's say you don't want to put it on automatic. If you want to keep it off, on my way here there was lots of light drizzle, and I just wanted to keep it off because it was smudging the windshield for no reason. So I just wanted to keep it off, and every now and then I would just flick it and it would work, but it doesn't work that way. You actually have to twist that little thing towards you, which is a bummer, because when you're driving, let's say you're putting your hands like these. I should be sitting on the other side, but if you're putting your hand like that and you're driving, you need to take your hand off the wheel, do that to make it work once, and put your hand back on the wheel, which was very annoying on my drive here. This mud deflector, or whatever it's called, in front of the tire is very low, which was weird for me when I'm driving a muscle car that usually doesn't have a very low ride, and there's usually some ground clearance, as you can see, but still, because of those, if the road is bumpy, you keep scratching it and it sounds terrible. No matter which parts you look at, there's lots of good options, lots of storage compartments. It lights up from here, which I admire, and when you're driving at night, these cup holders light like very dim LED ambient lights all the way over here. So that was it. That was the Dodge Charger. I enjoyed the ride down the road. It was very, very comfortable compared to the Mazda, but not as fun as the Mazda. The design is not something that I do appreciate. It's a little different, not for everyone, but not every car is for everyone, so I totally understand that. I'm gonna be staying in New York for a couple more days. I'm on a break with my wife, and then I'm gonna be driving back from New York to Toronto. On January 11th, I'll be on the Detroit Auto Show. So I'm gonna be covering that. There's lots of footage, lots of content coming in, so stay tuned. Like the video if you do like it. Please subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.